This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines, your media police post. Brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 14th of January 2020, and I am 2J.
I am JM.
And I am GK. Now, normally we would discuss the headlines, but the president addressed the nation today.
Yes,
Yes.
But I'll read out the headlines in case you missed them, and then we'll go back to that. Daily Nation, Ruto to fight on, says allies. In the Star, BBI, CS's split between Ruto and Kenyatta. And the Standard, a hostage president.
So much of the same from yesterday. So it's actually a
Yes.
nice welcome that the president decided to speak to us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A president being held hostage. All right. But
Interesting.
he addressed the nation and he called it his statement of intent. Really, I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
I also felt very inspired, not just saying that because it's January and we have New Year resolutions, but I think he also has resolutions for this country.
Yeah.
And I think we can highlight some of them. Political reshuffles comes to mind as one of the big things that came out.
Yeah.
One person, two people lost their jobs today. Former CS, Mwangi Kiunjuri, and Rotich officially had the nail in the
coffin.
coffin.
It's over.
Absolutely. And Betty Minor was promoted.
Yes.
One up from PS to CS
Trade,
industrialization.
Yes, and
I
Monica.
think trade.
Yes, and then Monica Juma and Rachel Omamo did a swap.
Yeah.
Which
Defense
sort of
and
works
Foreign Affairs.
because Juma had previously been at Interior, but before that she was actually the PS at Defense.
Yeah.
And so this is a nice fit. She's well published in peace and
Yeah.
security, so I think she's going back home.
Yeah, and I think there's no reason to worry with Omamo now in Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
Because she was a former Kenyan ambassador to France.
Yes.
She's a very well-known lawyer. She sat on the board of LSK.
Yeah.
And she was, as we know, the former CS for Defense. I
Yes.
think we're in good hands.
We're in good hands, and I think Juma, if you see what she's done to secure the Security Council seat or try to, I think with the fight with the maritime dispute or that going on next year, I think it will be a good.
This year.
This year,
We're
sorry.
2020.
This year, I think it will be a very good fit.
The appointment of Betty Minor also comes in to appease the Kalenjin nation.
I didn't think of it that way.
They lost their man, Rotich, in the National Treasury. And so to balance that out, you need to bring in, now a Kalenjin and a woman, for that matter. And that's kudos, I think,
To the president.
to the president.
Most definitely.
And so there's pundits who would say that the Kiunjuri move was a target to the deputy president. However, there are a lot of the deputy president's men who are still cabinet secretaries. So maybe that's a shallow way of thinking about it, but I don't know.
I think the guy who moved from water to, is it?
Chalugui.
To Chalugui?
Yeah.
From water to environment?
No, he's moved to Labour now.
To Labour,
Yes,
Labour.
yes.
That was a bit of a demotion. Quite a demotion.
Oh, and he's DP's man.
And
he's seen as DP's man.
So
Yeah.
DP's men are being, I think, axed.
Interesting. So other interesting ones probably is Mutahi Kagwe.
Yes.
Aspirant for Nyeri. Was it governor or senatorial race in 2017?
Absolutely.
And now for health.
Yes, and now is in health.
Yeah.
Will inject new energy. I think also what the president is doing here is to form a political cabinet.
Yes, yes.
We're getting more and more people with a political background in cabinet.
Yeah.
And that's what I think he has lacked in term one and even term two a little bit. So this is a good sign.
Yeah, when we talk about gatekeepers, this is what it's about, having a group of super people around you who can get the job done.
Who get the job done.
Matiangis, please.
Absolutely. And Mutahi Kagwe, we remember him for all the innovations he did at the Ministry of ICT.
Yeah.
And in fact, I suspect the reason he lost the 2007 election is because he concentrated a bit too much in the ministry. Delivering for Kenyans. So we're hoping that he will also deliver in the ministry.
In this case,
That's true.
And then we also have the youth docket moving under ICT and it's renamed to innovation. So there's a lot of interesting things going on there.
Yeah.
Another thing I think we should highlight that came out from this speech was dealing with farmers.
Yes.
And I think it looked like he wrote down the Sagana demands and came and said, I'm going to address some of
got
these.
It done,
Right? So a part of it was tea. Tea farmers have been they're being paid much lower prices than is being sold on the market.
Yeah.
And so the president has come out and said, you know what, these auctions, these brokers, these middlemen, we must deal with them.
Eliminate them, especially if they are not people who are growing tea themselves.
Exactly.
So I think we're calling it a restructuring of KTDA.
Exactly. So KTDA. So there's a governance issue there, but also saying we need to come up with a better tea pricing formula, which I think he's trying to constitute.
You know, good order is the foundation of all things. And as you were saying, with restructuring KTDA, doing away with the brokers, all of that is meant to, I think, begin a new chapter in the tea and coffee industries and the agricultural sector. Now, the thing is, though, that's, you know, the agricultural sector has been dominated by cartels, by these middlemen that he was talking about. And the question is, how will it be done? You know, in my view, Matiang'i should have moved to the ministry. He should be seconded to the Ministry of Agriculture for 1 year to break down these strongholds.
Let's give Munya a chance. Now that he's let's see what he can do.
Let's crack the whip.
Let's see if he's able to. But again, with the farmers, another thing that came out that was important was this 3 billion shilling revolving fund. So that it can give farmers access to finances, access to credit. And I think that will really be a game changer.
But I still think some of the questions that were asked, like some of the sentiment on Twitter was, where's the money going to come from? And I think that's a fair question to ask.
It's easy to give a directive, put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly, we want to see it happen.
Right, and then we also have 300 million shillings being dedicated to cold storages. So a lot of perishable goods. So these, the areas that were pointed out were Meru, Nyandarua and Kisii. Why Kisii? I don't know, but all right. Maybe there's a political move there. But to set up these cold storages so that the perishable goods can be stored before they get to market. Just basically giving the farmer a lifeline so your produce doesn't die.
That's true.
Politically, on the farming issue, this is a way of Uhuru, I think, to salvage part of his reputation in central Kenya, which has kind of dwindled. And if this is done right, if he's able to come through for peasants, you know, us peasants, tea growers, all we worry about is the cost of farming and that we get good returns. As he said, a tea farmer should be getting 91 shillings per kilo, but we're currently getting 41 shillings on average per kilo. And 50 shillings going to the middleman. If you can sort that out, we will go in whatever direction
implementation is
tells
key.
us to go.
And then another thing with the farmers, I think some areas had bumper harvest in rice, and so he mandated that excess rice be bought and be sent to the armies, boarding schools, and all sorts of things to deal with that glut.
The one that really impressed me was what had started up at the end of 2019, the importation of milk from other countries.
So now,
So now the president did a good job of like stamping that out.
So now he's saying 16% VAT will be put on imports of milk. And so hopefully that will stop that. And like he said, government doesn't set the price of milk. So I think one journalist asked him, you still haven't dealt with the issue of how farmers or the price at which farmers, And so he said, you know what, government doesn't set prices, which is
true.
Fair enough.
The market does.
The market does, So maybe we move on. He went on to speak about the elephant in the room, BBI. Briefly, but also about the new political sort of template that he wants for Kenya. A new governance template. What do you guys think about that?
BBI 2 is happening, as Murade told us in an interview not too long ago. And I think we will reach a very good consensus for the country. For restructuring the governance structures of this country, which will give us the stability that we've been looking for since Lancaster.
What a way to start the decade.
Renegotiating our nationhood, right? We had terms such as ethnic majoritarianism. We had, there were interesting consensus building things, right? I think what stood out for me was he said, his plan with BBI is to unify Kenyans.
Precisely.
And so if someone is feeling left out, they're missing the message of BBI. I don't know if other Kenyans are seeing that as well, right? And then the other thing he focused on was corruption. And in this sense, he sort of was like, he said he wouldn't backpedal or soft pedal. I don't know. However, like we were saying, will DCI and other people, the other arms, hold up their end of the bargain?
I think this is lighting a match under their behinds.
Exactly.
Yeah, to get stuff done.
Yes.
We're tired of seeing them being embarrassed.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
That's what it is.
And he said he will not covenant with evildoers. So very, very powerful words there from the president. Is there anything else we can say? There were a lot of innovations as well. So we saw him adopting the redacted interest rates. And so he's saying, listen, we want access to credit for SMEs. And he's saying CBK better come and say, you know, no predatory lending for people. So I think that will also be
some young people into the cabinet chief administrative secretary position. Young people being mentored in leadership.
Okay, so that CAS is below the PS.
Yeah, but, well, no, really. Below, almost at par with the PS, but really political. Not so much technical.
Okay, so mentoring the youth on that level.
And with that, I don't think we have a winning headline.
We don't.
But we have a winning speech. This was a brilliant speech, I tell you, one of the best.
So we award
the president should do a statement of intent every 6 months.
Yeah,
but definitely. Also, but even not just intent, but also what have you achieved, and you know, let's
it was an exciting speech. True,
very exciting.
It really was.
May I have the honors of tossing all three?
All three of them. There we go.
Goodbye.
So our winning headline goes to the president.
Yes.
It gives us our winning statement of intent. Can we quickly do a cartoon?
Yeah, one cartoon I think is fair.
We'll do a cartoon today from the Star. I think all of us agreed that this was the funniest. We have Uhuru Kenyatta on one side and we have William Ruto on the other. And Uhuru seems to be giving back his ring. So this used to be is the Jubilee, the Jubilee emblem.
The divorce is not finalized.
Yes, it's not. And he's giving back the ring. And it says for better or for worse. And then at the bottom it says Hatuko. Pamoja.
So I think we're currently in a separation. This is a separation. Not a divorce, but a separation. And they're kind of living apart, separate, not even separate beds, separate bedrooms, maybe even separate wings of the house.
Oh, Lord.
This is where we've reached now. But a really brilliant cartoon, brilliantly drawn. These two men have different visions. And this is why we're seeing all this division.
All right, fantastic.
So there you
winning
go.
Cartoon.
Ozone gives us our winning cartoon. What is our final thought?
And now our final thought, in continuation on our little series on New Year's resolutions, but looking at it in a different way. Today we're going to look at Made to Stick, Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die, written by Chip and Dan Heath in 2007. So Chip and Dan, the Heath brothers, they are brothers, they're best-selling authors and professors who actually work at two of the best universities in the US. Their mother must be very proud. So Made to Stick is the first book that they wrote together that was named the best business book of the year in 2007 and has been translated into 29 languages. So the book is based on 10 years of research where one brother was trying to understand what makes ideas stick. And the other brother was trying to figure out how to make ideas stick. So they decided to bring their two problems together and they began to answer this question: why do some ideas succeed and others fail? So this book is about what makes ideas more effective than others. So in the book, it explains what makes you notice ideas, what makes you understand them, what makes you care about them, what makes you remember them, and then finally, what makes you act on them. And they give the very simple answer that it's all about presentation. How you present a story, an idea, a product is what will make it critical. But if you can't package it properly, you're going nowhere. So Mark Twain once said, "A lie can get halfway around the world before the truth can even get its shoes on." And we see this every day. We have conspiracy theories, we have gossip, we have these WhatsApp threads and messages that are all lies that circulate very quickly and very easily and kind of seep into our brains. Meanwhile, we have important people with important ideas. We have politicians, journalists, intellectuals who also have the ability to shift narratives. They really struggle to make their ideas stick. And so this book essentially borrows from Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point. I think we covered that at the end of 2019, where he talks about the stickiness factor. This is the quality that compels people to pay close attention to a product, idea, or concept. And so stickiness determines whether something will gain widespread popularity. So if a newspaper, for example, all the newspapers we look at, if they have a boring headline, it doesn't matter how good that article is, how good the story is, because if the headline didn't captivate your eyes or captivate your mind, you're just simply not going to read it. So in the book, every chapter covers 6 principles that the brothers say should be applied as a checklist or a template to test any idea for stickiness. So we have simplicity, unexpectedness, concreteness, credibility, emotions, and stories. And I think you guys will cover 2 of those, items on the checklist.
So when he talks about credibility, he's really asking, so what makes you believe something? What makes you believe an idea? And he speaks about most of us believe things because our parents did, or because we had an experience that led us to believe something, or our religious authority. But mostly the authority aspect is what he looks at. And he says that authorities are usually reliable sources of credibility, which is why when a letter from Kebs tells you that something is toxic on your WhatsApp, because it has the logo, you tend to believe that it might be true. Although we've become more sophisticated at discerning.
We question.
Whether it's true or not, right? And he says, so there's a first class of authorities, and those are those with credentials. These are doctors, professors. When they tell you an idea, you tend to just take it at face value because they know more than you. And then there's a second class of authorities, which is these celebrities and aspirational figures. And this is why you find products being endorsed by these celebrities, because we tend to, so if Oprah likes a book, then you're more likely you'll be more interested in seeing, or if Bill Gates likes this book, you're more interested in that book as well, and you might buy it. And so because we trust the recommendations of people we want to be like, which is interesting. And then there's what they call the anti-authority. And these are regular people leading normal lives, but they tell a story in a very convincing way, and they make you believe because, you'd rather trust the source that you know than a commercial or advert from someone. So if your friend gives you a review of a restaurant, you're more likely
to believe
that it's good, and trust them, right? And it's because honesty and trustworthiness of our sources and not the status is what allows them to act as an authority. And then he goes on to tell us how we can build this credibility. And he says building internal credibility is about adding details to your idea. So if you have an idea, the more detailed it is, the more people are likely to sort of believe it.
That's right.
They support your core idea. And then they say, make use of statistics. So statistics are really useful in and of themselves. However, if you attach them to show a relation between 2 things, your story or your idea becomes more credible. And then the last thing he says is the Sinatra test, right? So Frank Sinatra sang a song, New York, New York. And in the chorus, he declares, if I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. I won't sing. And so an idea passes the Sinatra test when one example is enough to establish credibility in any given domain. So for instance, I win a tender to cater food at State House.
Amen.
It means that when I go out into the business community, by having catered at State House
on your CV,
I can virtually cater anywhere. It gives me credibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have to say it out loud. Manifest.
Put it into the universe.
If there's only one thing you must take away from this book, it's the power of storytelling. Storytelling and communication, and presenting your ideas, in giving statistics. So statistics in and of themselves, not very interesting.
Exactly.
But if you tell it through a story, it really sinks in, it sticks, and people will remember that. So amongst the things that they say in this book about stories is that people learn in stories, think in stories, and connect through stories. And if you want to move people to action, that's the way to do it. Bad storytellers merely give you a summary of events. But good storytellers hold your hand and take you through the emotional journey. And so what you want to do with a story is take your audience through an emotional journey. And what they say is there's something called a story arc. So it's in the form of a bell curve, and you work with the end in mind. You begin with the end, and then you work backwards. So you ask yourself, what's the purpose of the story? Is it supposed to terrify you? Is it supposed to be an uplifting one? Is it supposed to be hilarious? Is it supposed to be absurd? After you figure that out, then you work now backwards to figure out what the climax will look like, what the development of the story will look like, and what the introduction looks like. And an example that they give of a phenomenal, effective storyteller is Jesus Christ through the use of his parables.
Pastor Jaya.
And I'll speak very shortly about Luke chapter 10, and this is the parable of the Samaritans.
I have to cue the organs for the first time of the year.
So a lawyer approached Jesus and asked him, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus threw back the question to him, and because he was a lawyer, and said, I'm sure you know what the scriptures say. And the scriptures say, love God with all your heart, all your might, and eventually it also says, love your neighbor. But then he also puts Jesus to test and asks him, but who exactly is my neighbor? And do I have to love just about everybody? And once again, Jesus says yes, but he chooses to do that through a parable. And as you know, the parable goes, a man was going down the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Robbers surround him, tear off his clothes, beat him, and leave him lying there for dead. And so the first person comes across and walks on the other side of the road. The second does the same. But the third person, who was a Samaritan who had a donkey, put the man on the donkey, took him to an inn, and at the inn cared for him, paid for his expenses. And then eventually at the end he asks the lawyer, which one of these three men do you think was really a neighbor to the man who was hurt by the robbers? And Jesus said, the one who helped him. Now through that story, he was able to have the stickiness factor that you're talking about, and it's a story that even we relate to today. And the point of the story is show compassion to your neighbors, but not only to those who are like you, but even those who are not like you. Because those days Samaritans and Jews were completely polar opposites. But the fact that a Samaritan could do this for a Jew, that was a big deal.
And it became a memorable story.
Absolutely, and it's a memorable story. So master the art of storytelling this year, and your business, your management problems at the office, will take your home, everything will change.
Fantastic. So on a day where we had a winning statement of intent, an address from the president, and then a day we had winning cartoon from the Star, we just want to say, move into action in 2020.
Exactly.
We've given you the tools for being sticky.
Absolutely.
Have good ideas, and also show compassion to others.
Not always like you.
Exactly. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. But also find us on TV. We're on Pang, Free to Air, Star Times, Go TV. Have a good evening.